All right, guys. So just last week, I put together a YouTube video where I was asking you, those of you that have gotten some success in sync licensing and have learned something from my videos, whether it's just on my channel or in Sync Academy or Sync Edge or wherever you are involved with me, to please always reach out and let me know about any success stories or any sort of progress that you're making for two reasons. Number one, I'm selfish. I love hearing those stories, and I really love to sort of reinforce the concept of what I'm doing here is actually making a difference for those of you that are actually putting in the work. So it's a big rewarding feeling for me to get these. So it's definitely part selfish. But secondly, also, I want to bring you guys onto my channel like I'm going to do right now for my next guest because he saw that video and reached out and let me know about some success that he's had recently. So this is Burn Ban, and he actually has been following me for a long time. Burn, I remember seeing your comments probably 2 years ago, and maybe even more. Like I remember seeing you in a lot of the live streams over and over again. You were one of the more consistent ones that would log in and always participate. So it's really cool to hear this story from you, just to know that you've been kind of along for the ride for this long. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know about some of the recent successes you've had.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me, Jesse, and thanks for all that you do. I would not have been where I am today if it weren't really for your 5-day crash course. It was about 2 years ago. I was watching Life of Kylie, the reality TV show with Kylie Jenner, and at the time, I had been writing future-based tracks, putting them on SoundCloud, trying to get traction, occasionally paying for reposts or promotion to get the music out there to more people. And it just felt like I was kind of on a hamster wheel. It wasn't really going anywhere, but I love making music. I've made music my whole life. You know, I started recording music with the Tascam 4-track back in the day. And, but I just felt like I wasn't really going anywhere with the final product itself. So I'm watching Life of Kylie, and in the transitions, they're playing these future-based tracks. And I'm like, I could do this. This is like exactly what I do. And I could make beats like this, maybe even better than this. That's what I was thinking at the time. But how do I get my music on TV? So I go, hit up the internet, start Googling around, come across your site. And wow, this is interesting. And I signed up for your 5-day crash course at the time. I didn't watch the videos over 5 days, watched them all in a row. Because as soon as I started watching you, realized what you were saying was legit. You were offering all of this information. I thought, this is the real deal. And so I followed through. It all started kind of making sense to me, the way you were explaining it. And so I was like, all right, I got to stop trying to make the one perfect track and just start trying to churn out music. It's not all about volume. Quality matters a lot too. So I started trying to put out more music, and I started looking around for libraries, following your advice, libraries that might be interested. And long story short, eventually connected with a library. And so this was about a couple years ago in 2017. And since then, about a year, less than a year after that, after I got music into the library, started seeing placements. I'll always remember my first placement was on Total Divas. I was so excited that I got a placement on Total Divas. Again, another reality show on E! Following the women of WWE. But then I had a whole whack of placements on the Kardashians. And as you know, that show airs over and over and over again. And as you've said a lot on your videos, it's really about not the one placement, it's about the replacements that play over and over, because you get paid every time it airs. And then you get paid when it starts airing internationally. So that's really made a huge difference for me. And I recently cracked the 4-digit mark in my BMI royalty checks, which I was very excited about. Now, that was 2 royalty checks ago. The most recent one, I fell down to the high 3 digits, but it's given me so much encouragement and confidence that if I just keep at it, keep working hard every single day, make new tracks that are licensable, that the libraries want, I might just be able to do this full time one day.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool to hear. And for those of you that are watching, you should be encouraged by this. This is also why I like to bring people onto my channel, so that you guys can see and hear for yourselves firsthand success stories and testimonials from students and producers that are just like you, just like me. The only thing that separates, if you're not seeing results right now, from somebody like Burn or from myself, is just consistency. I will tell you guys that just being able to consistently show up, consistently serve the needs of a library is the big secret key. It's not much of a secret, but it's just the thing you got to do if you want to start to get to these results. And I know honestly that that's a big deal for you to break through that 4 digit mark, which is really, really awesome. And you're obviously on your start. And that's very normal, just so you know, to go up, go down, go up. And there's definitely going to be those sort of moments. And I had those many times where your royalty check dips below where you thought you were supposed to be. And that's another one of those gut checks where it's like, do I really want to keep going? And so as long as you have, and you had those expectations from day one that this is a long-term play, it's not a get-rich-quick sort of operation, and you're also building passive income royalties, like you said, by getting your tracks placed on TV shows that air multiple times. Those kind of smaller disappointments don't necessarily get to you too much because you realize that this is a bigger play. And as long as you're seeing year over year growth, then you know you're doing something right. If the only thing that I would say would be a red flag for everybody watching, let's say in 2019 you earned, I don't know, $10,000 per year, and the next year it's $8,000, and the year after that $7,000. You start to see this decrease, even though you're working just as hard and putting out a bunch of music. Well, it could be the music that you're putting out, or it could be the libraries that you're working with just aren't pushing as hard. So just keep an eye on that. But when it comes to quarter to quarter fluctuations, that's just par for the course. That's just how it is in this business, because there are just so many different factors: how many tracks are getting placed, when your tracks got aired, et cetera, et cetera. So, Bern, I want to dive in a little bit into when you're talking about what you were doing before. You said you were on SoundCloud, you were posting tracks. If you had much of a business plan, what was your ultimate goal before you really doubled down and committed to sync licensing? Can you think back to that time period in your life? What was your plan? What were you trying to accomplish with your music?
You know, I was thinking about that the other day, and I don't really think I had much of a plan beyond just I want a whole bunch of people to hear my music, and it would be super awesome to get signed to some electronic label and get tens of thousands of plays. I mean, really, I was on, and this, I will say, this was around the time when I feel like SoundCloud, it was easier to get discovered, and I think that's dropped off. I found it's a lot harder to get discovered on SoundCloud. A bunch of changes they've made to the platform for various reasons. But back then, I would discover artists myself and be like, oh, this guy's awesome, and he's got 10,000 plays, he's got 100,000 plays. I just wanted to be like the artists that I admired. But one thing I found was that trying to write the one perfect track, spending a month on a track, 40 hours on a single track, I was not getting good as quickly as doing high volumes, a high number of tracks. I find that to be so much more educational, and it just because you're working those muscles over and over again. It's like if you go to the gym once. Well, maybe this is not the best parallel, but if you were exercising, right? What's going to get you fit is doing it every day, consistently, working hard. And even if you have a bad day, you move on to the next day. And it's just like that with making music. I would be making music even if I weren't making money from it. So it's great to see these improvements in my production skills. And then the fact that I might even be able to do this full time one day, I mean, that is what really gets me excited to do it every single morning. And I have a routine. I get up every morning, I walk the dogs, I read the news, I exercise, and then if I'm on my game, I got 2 hours to make music. And it's having that strict routine, working on trying to get as many tracks out as I can while maintaining a high quality has got me to where I am, and I hope it will keep me going.
Awesome, man. And obviously you're seeing the signs. I think usually when you see obviously placements and you see income and you see the kind of stuff that you're seeing build in your career, it's always the sign that you're doing something right. And I always tell producers that remember to celebrate those little wins. It might not seem like full-time income yet, obviously, but you definitely do want to just kind of step outside of yourself for a second and recognize what you've done in the fact that before you double down on sync licensing. And I see this is why I wanted to ask you that because, and I appreciate your honesty, because so many producers are in that spot right now. They're still just throwing stuff out there, putting stuff on SoundCloud, trying to build a fan base or whatever, just throwing music up, not even really trying to build much of a fan base. And it's still this kind of 1990s, I hope somebody discovers me and gives me a record deal and signs me, like you were saying, hopefully like some established company comes and swoops me up and kind of takes care of all that work for me. And I still think there's a lot of people still stuck in that 20-year-old mentality. Since the mid 2000s and certainly since the 2010s, that is all over. There are definitely resources out there for producers. There's definitely like learn it yourself operations that you can basically participate in to directly reach out and partner with the people that can actually get you to that point of doing this full time. So you don't have to, if you're watching this and you don't have that plan, you don't have that game plan, I do encourage you to look into sync licensing. The one thing I think I love about it, and by the way, the free 5-day course that Bern was referring to, it's in the description box below. You guys can check that out if you want to. Is sync licensing, what it does, it helps zero out distractions. It helps basically focus in your vision very narrowly. It's a really important skill to have, especially in business. When you want to succeed, you usually don't want to come into a new industry and try to be all things to all people, which is why I've told producers, don't try to be all things. Don't try to say I can produce 20 different genres and I'll be great, equally great at all of them, because chances are you're just not going to be. So with Bern, he figured out it was this future bass, this future EDM style that really was driving him. He loved it. He was good at it. He had just a knack for it. It was really something that just kind of resonated with him. And so he zeroed in on that particular sound. And the same thing in a wider scope happens with sync licensing, where when you start producing licensable music, partnering with great libraries, when you see that offer, hey, remix competition, oh, hey, learn how to, get 10,000 fans by following this formula. Those things start to look like more distractions, and you can easily start to zero those things out because you're realizing that's not the path that's going to be working for me. I want to choose this path, and I think in order to succeed with this path, I need to 100% buckle down and focus on, like you said, every single day, cranking out new tracks, building up an album, serving the needs of my library clients. That is, I think, one of the big parts of success that a lot of producers need to know and understand from this video, is a lot of it is about saying no to a lot of stuff. That's really what it is. There's like all these other paths and options you have out there, and sometimes because you have so many options and paths out there, that's where the lack of focus or the lack of a business plan comes from, because you just always feel like, well, I could do anything at all times. That's actually not an asset for you. It's actually not going to be something that's beneficial to have so many different avenues for you to pursue. Usually the way to succeed is to cancel all those out, find the one. Maybe it's not sync licensing. If it's not sync licensing, I wish you the best on whatever pathway you do. Obviously, I teach you guys sync licensing because that's what I know. But if it is sync licensing, that's what you need to do, is basically zero out and not focus on anything else and be distracted by little shiny objects that come along your path, and understand that there is a game plan here, there's a focus here, and there's a long-term goal that you're going for. And in order to get there, as Bern figured out and he's realized, it's just consistent work, showing up every single day and then zeroing out all those other shiny little things that come along to push you off that path and keep yourself focused. So that's awesome, man. Really excited for you. Thank you so much for your time, man. If there's any advice or any tips you can give to maybe a new coming producer that might be watching this video for the first time, thinking about getting started with sync licensing, what would you tell them?
Well, a couple things real quick. I would just say that what you told me in your videos about having a customer service mindset, that's a huge change from the whole trying to make it big on SoundCloud or trying to do your artist thing. You have to approach these libraries as if they are your client. And if you're running a business, and that's what you're doing, if you're making music for sync licensing, you are a small business operator, and these libraries are your clients. Think about it like that. You want to show up on time, over deliver, just like professionalism in emails, simple things like being polite, courteous, nice to people, and not having an ego, not being passive aggressive, not failing to respond to emails in a timely fashion. Just little things like that, they really go a long way. And I've even had library owners or people who work at libraries tell me like, wow, you really appreciate your professionalism, just makes the job so much easier. And I agree, for me, it makes it easier when people are nice back to me. So I'd say, number one, remember that you are a business operator essentially, and you want to treat your clients like any client would want to be treated. And then the number two thing is never, ever give up. Keep making music, keep working at it, and try and do it every single day if you can. I understand life is complicated. There's not everyone can do it every single day. I can't do it every single day, but just show up. Even if you have a bad day, it's way better to do an hour 5 days a week than 5 hours 1 day a week.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Just being there every single day in front of your DAW, that is the recipe for success. And again, not every track you produce, especially if you're brand new to producing, has to be the best track, the most incredible masterpiece you've ever composed in your life. And it's just unrealistic to even think that that's going to be there. But just always showing up, always being willing to learn, always willing to A/B compare your tracks to the competition, to a reference track, to whatever it is you want to do. To basically get on par with. That is the path to do it. And even just learning one tiny little thing over the years, basically as you stack up these little tiny things that you learn, day after day, week after week, month after month, that's what basically success is. It's not an overnight hit. You guys watching this video, it might sound like Burn just came out of the blue and just now he's doing really well. You're just seeing one snippet, one tiny little window into his career, but this has been the process that he's been following for the last couple of years, okay? So that's what success is. It is a process, and that's why I always told you guys, fake it until you make it. So if you're not doing what Burn's doing right now, you're not getting placements, not getting income, well, you should start doing what he's doing anyways. What is he doing? He's showing up every day, consistently cranking out music, learning how to serve the needs of libraries, learning how to improve his producing, mixing, and mastering skills, and sticking with it, basically. So if you're not doing those things, how could you ever get to the point where you're having the kind of successes that he is? It's just impossible. I don't believe in the sort of, well, I'll just wait till a huge, six-figure opportunity gets passed to me through like a cattle call company. I'll submit one track to that, and hopefully that'll set me on my path to full-time income. Not a plan. That is the lotto plan. It's not a plan to actually do this full-time. So I do encourage you guys to just pretend that you're making full-time income with your music right now and behave as if you were somebody whose income depended on you getting into your studio every single day and cranking out music. If you do that starting today, you will see these results down the line. I guarantee it. So thank you so much, Burn, man. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me. You say celebrate the small successes. I mean, talking to you, this is one of those successes for me. 2 years ago, I was watching your tutorials. Now here I am sharing some of my success with you and your audience. This is a great day for me, and I thank you for the opportunity.